Hey everybody, sorry it's taken me so long to get back to you, but I'm just going to give you a disclaimer. I have been hesitant to make videos because I want everything to just be so when I make them. Like, I don't want to stutter in the video, or I don't want to have crazy hair in the video, or I want, this to be cleaned up or that to look better. But if you're here for the videos, you're not here for perfection. You're here to hear me tell you something maybe you didn't know. And that's the whole reason why I was going to do them in the first place. It's just to share my knowledge. I'm not by any means a professor of any sorts, but I do have some know-how, and that's what I'm here for, is to share that know-how with you. So, all that out of the way, we're going to talk about tomatoes. I have put up quite a bit of tomatoes this summer, of my own, of some I've bought from people, of some I've been given, just lots of tomatoes in different forms. We've done vegetable soup, we've done tomato soup, we've done spaghetti sauce, I've done pizza sauce, done just diced tomatoes, tomato juice, salsa. So you can see, there's a lot of things that can be made with tomatoes. But today I decided to do this last, 50 pounds or so of tomatoes, maybe last 50 pounds or so, and just do a basic tomato sauce, no additives, just straight up tomato sauce. And there's lots of ways you can do this. And I'm still kind of deciding on how I'm going to do it as I'm actually just talking to you. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, I still haven't made up mine. Okay, here's the thing. If you didn't know, this one had a really big core, so I had to take that out and some splitting. Tomatoes have lots of juice. If it's a regular cutting, canning type tomato, heirloom tomatoes, all of them is going to have lots of juice. The kind that is most recommended for sauce is a paste tomato, and they're great for sauce because there's not a lot of seeds, and there's not a lot of juice. It's very meaty. And I've got some paste tomatoes that I'm going to add to this. But it's really nice to be able to do a mixture of tomatoes when you're canning, because it gives more flavor. And so that's what I'm going to go for. And I think what I'm going to end up doing, it's been kind of my tried and true method through this past summer, is roasting. And I think I'm just going to do some roasted tomato sauce, because when you put the tomatoes on a pan and put them in the oven for any amount of time, usually about an hour, it really brings out the tomatoes' tomatoiness, and it makes them really nice and flavorful, and it's just full of, the juices evaporate a little bit, it gets really nice and thick, and so that's what I'm going to do today. It's as simple as that. I'm going to core them. I'm going to cut out any bad spots. I may squeeze a little juice out of them. I'm going to cut them up into probably quarters, put them on a roasting pan, and then I'm going to roast them for an hour. Now I can get 3 roasting pans in my oven. I can get 2 side by side, and then 1 on the bottom long ways. So I'm going to fill those up, and then we're going to roast them, and I will show you what everything looks like as we get to it. Like I said, these are just regular, canning tomatoes, Rutgers, Celebrities, those types of tomatoes. And I told you that I'm just basically going to cut them up into maybe like quarters after I take the core out. And if you didn't know, this is the core. And there's a little tool. I think I might actually have one somewhere, but I'm going to just use my knife. And I'm just going to go around it with my knife. And a serrated one, I think, works best. Maybe it's because my other knives aren't sharp enough. I don't know. But I like a serrated one. Just pop the core out like that. And then a lot of times, you know, if you've actually got really good homegrown tomatoes, you might have a couple little spots on them. Just pull those off. Now, if you have some digestive issues, I've heard that tomato skins kind of irritate that. We don't seem to have any issues like that that I know of. So I don't worry about that too much. Besides, once I roast it, things get really nice and tender, and then I put it in my blender and puree it. And it just pretty much, they're pretty much gone by that point. And other people say you have to take all the seeds out. I'm of neither mindset. I don't feel like I've got to take all the seeds out, nor do I feel like I have to peel mine. But to each his own. Everybody has their own way of doing. So if you're one of the ones who don't want any seeds, I'll show you what you do. So you're going to do the same process that I'm doing. You're probably going to core it. Then you're going to cut it down what I guess you would call the equator. So once you core that, take off the bottom and this one has a little bad spot, so we'll cut that off. And then I'm going to run my knife down right down the middle, the equator, and then you're exposed to all the seed cavities there. Okay, so just gently try to mash those seeds out if you don't like a lot of seeds, or if you don't want all, very much juice. Which, like I told you, I don't know why, unless it just evaporates so well. But roasting the tomatoes really gets rid of a lot of the juice and makes it super thick sauce. So I did it with my salsa. I did it with my pizza sauce. Now I'm going to do it with my tomato sauce. And since this is kind of big, I'm going to just cut it up a little bit. But yeah, you can see here, for the most part, the seed cavities are all emptied now. So I'll cut that up just a little bit so it's easier when I put them all in the blender after it's roasted. And everybody is so really worried about canning. Canning is easy and you can do it. It should not, I don't want you to be intimidated. I don't want you to be afraid. And tomatoes, I hot water bath them. I'm taking this off because there's a little ugly spot on it, okay? I'm not peeling them. I could peel them, just like this, but I'm not. I hot water bath can my tomato products, except vegetable soup. And it's simply because there's other things in there besides tomatoes. But tomatoes, most of the time you're going to be fine with any good tomatoes, but to be very safe, I add a little bit of lemon juice per jar when I go to can. I add my salt, I add my lemon juice, and then I proceed with my canning, and I do it in a hot water bath. There are people that don't want to add lemon juice or citric acid, and they will pressure can, and that's a prerogative. That's up to to each his own. I grew up doing this my whole life. I'm not gonna change. No, I'm not that kind of person. I want to do what's right and good, but there's no reason why you can't hot water bath your tomatoes. There's quite a few rough spots on this one. So I'm going to continue to cut and core. Cut the core out, and then cut these up into quarters. These tomatoes, I'll get them on the roasting pan, and I'll show you what that looks like when we're done, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay? See you in a few. Hey, I'm sorry it took us so long. I had to go tend to the goats and make supper, and I'm just getting everything back in order to finish up the sauce tonight. So what I've done is I've finished roasting the tomatoes, and here's what they look like. And over here, you can see with this one, that's the water that I pulled off these. Okay, there's even some more water that's kind of come up since I poured these in here. But I've strained some of that water off because there was a whole lot in these. And then I'll show you what the sauce is pureed on the stove. But, so I'm just going to take this over to the blender. I'm going to blend it up, and then I'm going to scoop in the rest of the tomatoes out of this pan, and I have one more roasting pan in the oven. So I ended up with a total of 4 pans, and then we kept quite a few that were still not hardly ripe, and we're going to use those for slicing for the rest of the week. I'll be back in a minute.
Is there anything I can do to help?
No, not right now. Just give me this sauce. Now you could keep this leftover watery tomato juice, but I think I'm just gonna pour it into the chicken's bucket and give it to them because it's a little thin for my liking. It's just gonna help to keep my tomato sauce much thicker. Also, if you remember, I am not flavoring or seasoning these except with a little bit of salt per jar. If you're wondering about all this stuff, I've got many different tasks going on this evening in the kitchen. I've got some Macintosh apples I'm going to dehydrate once the sauce gets going. I've got our pork roast over there that's cooling down from supper, and I just pulled some pears out of the dehydrator, and I've got broth in the roaster over there, and my canning set up on the stove. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can lean you over here a little bit. Do you see the browned goodness there? That's really going to help the flavor of our tomatoes. And again, I'm just using this. It's like a sieve with a handle. And because these tomatoes are so juicy, I am sieving a little out. And I'm just plopping them on in there. And this is the last pan I bought. I just brought it out of the oven. So I'm going to, hopefully it'll start cooling down in here soon because it is a sauna. Woo, mercy. We are almost ready to jar up this sauce. And I'm done with tomatoes for the year. Like, really done. I said I was done before, but I'm seriously done now. Here's our pot finished sauce. I'm just going to gently pour that in so it doesn't plop everywhere. Look how nice and thick. And that is just one thing that I've learned from roasting, that it really helps to thicken that sauce up, whether it was for salsa or pizza sauce or whatever I was doing. I really am pleased with the results and the flavor of roasting the tomatoes. So now all I have to do is jar it up and get it ready to can. All right, I have my lemon juice in the jars already. I'm going to go ahead and add my sauce, and then I will add my salt. I have some very old jars that are still in very good shape. They don't have any cracks or blemishes or bows in the glass or anything, and they're still with my canning supplies. I got that one a little full. So I don't mind to use some of my older, prettier jars in with my water bath canning. I do not like to pressure can them because it just gives, well, obviously pressure canning, you're putting the jar and the food under pressure a little bit more than, you know, just a hot water bath. So I'm going to need one more jar. I'll be back. I'm going to really attempt to do this. And you can, I don't know if you can see the stove eye, but I have it on to a little above medium, so it's warming, but it's not boiling yet. And my sauce is warm, so we're going warm into warm and not cold into warm. You do not want that because that could break your jar. All right, lid goes on, temperature goes up, and once we know that it's boiling, we'll give it 25 minutes. Good morning, everybody. Sorry it took me a little while to get back with you, but after last night, after the canner finished, I was ready to clean up and just kind of simmer down for the evening. But my jars sealed nicely and they look great. You may see a little bit of, separation if you do this, where the pulp kind of wants to separate from the juice a little. It's not a big deal. Just give it a little shake when you go to use it, and it'll go back together before you pour it into whatever you need. I like to store my jars like this, and one reason is I take the lid, the rim off, and leave the lid on, and I know it's nice and tight and sealed well. And if by chance it comes unsealed for any reason, I will know it sooner. There may be a foul smell, or I might see some mold forming on the top or whatever, and that means, oh hey, it's come unsealed, there's airflow getting in and it's going bad. So that way I can get rid of it and not worry about using anything that's contaminated. If I leave it on, maybe when I pull it off I think, oh, did that just come unsealed? No, I'll know for sure, because it's going to be loose and it's going to pop off as soon as you touch it. So I hope that gives you the courage if you're coming into tomato season if you are in tomato season, or if you're getting out of tomato season like us and you have some tomatoes that you'd like to put up. I hope that helps you, give you an idea on what you can do with the last or the first of your tomatoes, how you can make your own sauce, how you can store it up for many, many months to come. And it's a very simple process. So if I can help you, please feel free to leave a comment or email me. All the links are in the description. So I hope you have a happy day and great fun canning your own sauce. Bye-bye.